Hello everyone, in this module we are going to learn about validation rules for form and following are the topics that we are going to discuss. Firstly, we will understand what are validation rules, then we will see the need of a validation rule, then we will learn why validation rules are important. After that we will discuss different types of validation rules available in Django. Then we will understand what is max length validation rule. After that we will learn to apply initial validation rule. We will also discuss what is minimum value and maximum validation rule. Then we will learn to apply help text validation rule. Then we will learn what is required validation rule, and we will also learn what is unique validation rule. Then we will move to learn minimum length validation rule, and then we will learn about the label validation rule. Then we will learn to apply the minimum digit and maximum digit validation rule, and after that we will also learn decimal places validation rule. Then we will discuss what is regex validation rule, and in last we will discuss the custom validation rule. So let's begin by understanding what is validation rule. A validation rule is one way to restrict input in a field, or in other words, you can say that it is a control on the form. And validation text let us provide a message to help a user who input the data that it is not valid. Moving ahead, we will learn why we need a validation rules for the form. So we all know that every computer application fundamental security rule is to never trust the user input. That could be as a result of the user actively supplying malicious data to breach the application or accidentally sending the incorrect data which disrupts our application. So because of these situations, each user input must be verified in order to maintain the security and integrity of the application. So with this we learn the need of a validation rule. Now we will discuss why validation rules are important. In general, we can say that this validation is important to process as it is a necessary security and protect our form from the unethical data. So now we will move one step further and learn the different types of validation rules available in Django. In Django we have two types of validation rules. The first one is built-in and the another is custom. So let's discuss each in detail. So built-in validation rules are the actions that are predefined in the Django form for checking the accuracy of the user input data, while the custom validation rules are the actions that programmers built according to their need for checking the accuracy of the user input data. So before we discuss each validation rule in detail, we will firstly discuss when Django start validating a form, we run the isValid method and the validated data is placed in the clean underscore data attribute of the form. So we already discussed these things in the previous module. So let's start with built-in validations rules. So the first built-in validation rule in Django we have is a max length validation. The max length is the one of the most used character field validation attribute. Basically, it is used to check that the data entered in the field does not exceed the set maximum length. Or to use it, we can simply provide a max underscore length keyword to the field. So let's discuss this validation rule with the help of an example. I am going to use the same form that we used in the last modules. For this we have to open the forms.py file to apply validations, and we know that our forms.py file is located inside the app directory. So here our app name is feedback app. So I open this, and in this app I have a file with the name forms.py. So I open this file first. Now I will show you how to apply the validation rule, that is maximum length. So here you can see that we have a course feedback form class, and in this form class I applied this max length validation on the first name, last name and description field. So I tell you one by one. Here you can see that I have a field with the name first name, and I created by using the form class, and I use the character field class for this. And here you can see that I pass a keyword argument or you can say that the argument as a max length equals to 50. And similarly in the last name field, I set the max length to 150, and here you can see that in the description field I also set its max length to 300. So with this we set the max length validation rule. So now I run my application and show you the example of this max length attribute. So here our form get opened. Now it asks for the first name. So the first name of the user is a Tamaris Nightingale. So I enter the name and you can see that here the Nightingale doesn't come in the field. As we apply the validation, only 15 characters are valid in this place. So with this, I hope you get the clear idea how we apply the max length validation on the character field. And similarly like that, this max length validation work for the last name and description field also. So now we will move one step further and learn the next built-in validation, that is initial validation. You may have noticed that many online forms include pre-entered text. This is done using the initial validator attribute of a Django form, and therefore if you want to add a pre-entered text in any field of the form, you have to use the initial attribute. So I will explain you this validation with the help of example. So let's see an example related to this. So here I again open my course feedback form. This time I want to change the email field. For this I take a field email which starts with the forms.email class, and here you can see that I add a keyword initial as I want to set the predefined text, and here I define the predefined text as a enter your email. So now I execute my code and show you the output. So here I open my form. Here you can see that in email field we already have a predefined text, enter your email. So if we want to enter email, we have to first erase this predefined text and then we are able to enter. If I start entering the email without erasing it, it start appending with this predefined text. So we have to erase it first. So with this we have learned to apply the initial validation on the form. So now we will move further and learn the next validation, that is label validation. So by default Django uses the form field name specified in the forms.py file itself as a field name. But by using the label attribute, we can change it to the another custom name. So I will show you the example so you get the clear concept regarding this. So here again I open my forms.py file and we are working on the same form course feedback. So here I am going to make changes in the first name, last name and the satisfy field. So I will show you. Here you can see that I use the label attribute. So by using this attribute I pass or set the custom name. If I don't pass this attribute, the field name appear on the form is first name with the small alphabet or without any space. Or if I use this label attribute, it will appear as a first name which have a first, then have the space and then have a name. Similarly like a last name it will work. And here I pass a label parameter to the satisfy field also. So it means instead of showing the satisfy, it will show you are you sure to submit. So now I will show you the output. So here is the form. You can clearly see that shows the first name as a first name, here last name, and instead of showing the satisfy, it is showing that are you sure to submit. So I hope that you will get the idea what this label validation does. Now let's move to the next validation, that is minimum length validation. Basically the minimum length validation is a character field validation attribute, and it checks that data entered in the field does not fail to set the minimum length, or if you want to use it, you simply pass the minimum length keyword to the field. So I will show you the example so you get the clear idea regarding this. So here I open my form course feedback and I make changes this time in the place field. So here you can see that here I create a field with the name place field, and you can also see that it is a form character field class. So here I pass a minimum length keyword argument and I set its value to 2. So by this it means that it sets the minimum length to the 2. So we have to pass the minimum character 2 to it if we want to successfully validate our form. So I will show you with the help of example. So here you can see the form. Here I already filled the fields with data, and you can see here in the place field I pass a place as a U and want to submit this form. So when I click on this, here you can see that it shows the error. Please length this text to 2 character or more than. You are currently using the 1 character. It means minimum it requires the 2 character. If I pass one more character, now it's become UK. Now I click on this submit button and you can see that the form gets successfully saved. So with this, we also learn to apply the minimum length validation on the form. So now we will move to the next validation, that is unique validation. The unique attribute is used to set the form field to the unique. If once the value is entered in the form field, the same value can't be entered again in the same field. And to set the field a unique, we have to pass the argument unique and set its value to true. And we see an example related to this in the upcoming model. So before moving to the next validation, I will tell you the reason why we use this validation in the next module, as we are working on the forms only, but this validation is only applied on the models. For that reason, we will discuss this validation in the next module. So now we will move to the next validation, that is required validation. So you all know that by default the required attribute has true value to show that every and each field are mandated to entered by the user. As a result, it is frequently used to make a field optional, that is the user would no longer be required to enter the data into that field and it will still be accepted. And for this you have to set the value of the required attribute to false. Basically this attribute can be used with any type of input including email, URL, text files, password files, or checkboxes, radio button, and so on. So we will learn this validation with the help of example. So I will show you the example first. Here I open my form. Now I apply this validation on the last name. So here you can see that on this last name I pass a argument required and set its value to false. So by doing this, it will accept the field without filling the data, or we can say that it makes the field optional. So I will show you the output. So here you can see that I fill the form with some details and now I click on the submit button. But before clicking on the submit button, I will show you I remain this last name field blank and rating field also to the blank. So I click on the submit button now. So when I click on the submit button, in the rating field it shows me the error, place this field. So I fill rating as 2.6 and now I want to submit this form. You can see that the form is successfully submitted without filling the data in the last name. So with this we can say that this field is not required to fill. So now we will move to the next validation, that is help text validation. The help text attribute is used to add a help text next to the field to provide extra details about what must be entered. So we will see an example to get the clear concept regarding this. So here I open my form and I apply this validation on the two fields. The first one is rating and the next one is a date. So the rating is a decimal field and here you can see that I pass a validation. I will show you help text and I set it as a enter the value between 1 to 5. So the user get to know it can fill only the value between 1 to 5. And in the date field, I also pass this help text and set its value that date must be in YYMMDD format, which means first he or she enter the year, then he enter the month, and in last he enter the date. Now we will see the output. So here you can see that we have a form and in the rating field you can see that in front of this field it enter a line, enter the value between 1 to 5, and similarly in the date field it enter the text as a date must be in YYMMDD format, which means it give us the help text for the more information regarding the field. So with this we also learn about the help text validation. Now we will move next step and learn the minimum value and the maximum value validation. So the minimum value and the maximum value validation are a integer field and decimal field validation attributes, and the minimum value checks that the data entered in the field does not fail the set minimum value, and the maximum value checks that the data entered does not exceed the set maximum value. Or to apply these validation, we simply have to pass the keyword minimum value and the maximum value to the required fields. So we will see an example to clear the concept. So here I open my form and I make these validation on the rating field. So here you can see that in the rating field I pass the argument minimum field and I set its value to 1, and I also pass the maximum field validation and I set its value to 5. So with this it said that the value is between 1 to 5. Now I will show you the output. So here you can see that we have a form. I already filled the data, and you can take a view on this rating field. Here I set the rating field to 0 and I click on this submit button. So when I click, it shows the error value must be greater than or equal to 1. So we have to enter the value greater than 1. So if I enter the value 8 and want to submit this form, it shows the error value must be less than or equal to 5. So with this we get an idea. We have to enter the value between 1 to 5 in the decimal range, as it is the field with the decimal. So now I pass a value as 2.6 and try to save it. Now I click on the submit button and you can see that it accepts the value and save the form. So with this we have learned the minimum and maximum value validation. Now we will learn minimum digit and maximum digit validation. So the minimum digit and the maximum digit are a decimal field validation attributes, and the minimum digit is used to check the minimum number of a digit allowed in the number, and the maximum digit is used to check the maximum number of a digit allowed in the number. So note one thing, the number must be greater than or equal to the decimal places. So I will show you the example so you get the clear concept. Now I apply this minimum and maximum digit validation on the rating field, and here you can see that I pass the maximum digit validation as max underscore digits as a keyword, and I set its value to 2, which sets the maximum digit to the 2. So similarly like this you can also set the minimum digit validation. Now I will show you what this validation does. So here you can see we have a rating field and I try to pass a validation as 22.3. So I click on the submit button. So here you can see I have a field rating. So I pass a value inside it 22.3 and try to submit it. So when I click on the submit option, it will give me the error. Ensure that there are no number more than 2 digit in the total. You can see that by digit in total it means the first digit is 2, second digit is 2 and the third digit is 3. So it says that we have more than 2 digits, but I set its value to 2. So we have to pass only the 2 digit including the decimal place digit. So when I change it to 2.3 and try to submit it, the form saved successfully. So I hope you get the clear view of the minimum digit and the maximum digit validation. So now we will move to the next validation, that is decimal places validation. The decimal places is the decimal field validation attribute, and it is used to set the number of decimal places to store within a number. So let's see an example to clearly understand the concept. So this time again I make changes in the rating field, and here you can see that I pass a keyword argument decimal places to this field and I set its value to 1. It means it has only one decimal number. So now I execute the code and show you the output. So here you can see that I filled the form already. Now in the rating field I pass the rating as a 2.33. So you can see that in this 2.33 I pass two decimal numbers, which is 33. Now I want to submit it. You can see it shows an error. Please enter a valid value, the two nearest valid values are 2.3 and 2.4. It means you have to either pass the 2.3 or 2.4. You can't pass 2.33. So I pass it as a 2.3 and click on the submit button, and you can see that the form successfully saved. So with this we learn decimal places validation also. So now we will move to the next validation, that is regex validation. So firstly we will understand what is regex. Regex also known as a regular expression. It is a pattern formed by a sequence of a character, and the regex validation is used to check if a string contains the specified pattern or not. And to apply this regex validation we have to use the validators argument in the field, and it accepts the list where we are passing a method called regex validator, and this regex validator accepts the regex value as a first parameter and the message as a second parameter, and this message is the simply the error which is reverted back if the validation fails. And note one thing, before applying the regex validation we have to import the library named as regex validator. So now let's see an example to get a clear understanding of a regex validation. So here I apply this regex validation on the field name mobile. So I take this mobile field in a character field, and you can see that here I pass a validator, and as I told you we firstly have to import the library, and here you can see that I import the library regex validator. So I will show you. Here you can see that I pass a argument validators, and I initialize a list as an input where I passing a method called a regex validator, and I pass a regex value as a first parameter and a message as a second parameter. Now I defined you the regex validator as it must be 10 digits. Then it says that the first digit is either start with 7, 8 or 9, and the next digit is should be from 0 to 9, and it displays the method if this validation fails enter a valid 10 digit contact number. So now I execute my program and show you the output. So here you can see we have a form. I already filled the fields, and you can see that in this mobile number I start a number with the digit 1. So I want to submit this form, so I click on this submit button, and you can see that it raise an error called enter a valid 10 digit number. So as we defined that the first digit must be start with the 7, 8 and 9, so we have to follow this validation. And I show you one more thing. If I change this number starting digit to the 7 and reduce this 10 digit to a 9 character and try to submit it again, then you can see that it again show us an error enter a valid 10 digit contact number. So if I pass a number starting with the digit 7, 8 or 9 as a first digit and it complete have 10 digit, and now I want to submit this form, you can see that the form is successfully saved. So with this we have learned to apply the regex validation. So now we will move one step further and we will learn to apply the custom validations. Till now we are discussing the built-in validators. Now we will learn to apply the custom validation, and for applying the custom validation we have some rules. So let's begin with discussing the steps which we need to create the custom validation. So firstly we have to declare a function that accept an argument called a value, or you can name anything. So one can apply any type of operation on this value. Now then on this value apply your desired validation. So when a value meets any of the condition, a validator error is raised, and in the last add the created function to the validator's parameter of the chosen field. So I will explain you this validation with the help of an example, so you get clearly understand how the custom validation works. So here I open my form, and you can see that here I create a function for the custom validation error message. So I explain you this function. So firstly, I use the def keyword and I create a function with the name check underscore email underscore validation. And here I pass a value as a argument to it. Then I call a if statement and pass a query to it. If gmail.com is not a value, raise an form dots validation error, and the error is raised, this field accept the mail id of a gmail only. So now I apply this validation on the email field. So till now we only create the validation function. Now I move to the email field, and here you can see that I call the validator's argument, and in the validator argument in the list I pass the name of the function which I created above. The name of the function is check underscore email underscore validation. With this, custom validation is applied on this email field. So now I will execute the program and show you the output. So here you can see that we have a form and I already filled this form. Now concentrate on this email field, and you can see that I filled email as john@yahoo.com. So here you can see I passed the yahoo.com instead of gmail.com. So I want to submit this form and I click on this submit button, and you can see that it shows an error. This field accept the mail id of gmail.com only. So if I want to submit this form successfully, I have to change this email to an Gmail email. So I change this yahoo.com to the gmail.com, and now I want to submit this form. So you can see that the form is successfully saved now. So with this we also learn the custom validation, and in this whole module we have learned the validation rules for the form in Django, and in the next module we will learn to create a form from the models.